Former Multnomah County Commissioner Loretta Smith again has her sights set on Portland City Hall. Smith is running for one of the 12 new city council seats in the newly formed District 1. District 1 includes most Portland neighborhoods east of 82nd Avenue, including Powell Butte and Portland International Airport. Loretta Smith was a longtime field representative for Senator Ron Wyden before she was elected to the Multnomah County Commission in 2011. She served on the County Commission until 2018 when she ran for Portland City Council. Joanne Hardesty won that election. And in 2022, Smith ran in Oregon's 6th Congressional District for the seat won by Andrea Salinas. Currently, she has her own business. It's Dream Big Communications, rather. Loretta Smith, welcome back to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it. That's a lot of big words.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, this is your third run for Portland City Council. Why are you running again? Why do you want to try this again?
Yes, this is my third one. I feel like I'm the Susan Lucci and Nick Fish of the race. And I told that to a younger reporter, and she's like, who is Susan Lucci? Like, all my children. But I have to remember where I'm at. This is so important to me that we have great representation. And you know, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to have all of our city involved in local government. And what the charter did was it mandated that we have district offices in our districts and that we cut up the city in 4 different districts. And so now people who felt like they had no voice, they had no one fighting for them, they'll be able to have someone, and especially if I win, they'll have someone that will give them voice and who will be their champions down in City Hall. We have a lot of work to do around sidewalks, infrastructure, parks, making sure that we have traded sector businesses that reside in East Portland. Right now, the average wage in East Portland is $60,000 compared to the rest of Portland, that's $90,000. So there's a huge pay gap, and I'm excited about having the opportunity of really laying the groundwork for a city that works for everybody.
What do you think about the charter changes, and how do you think it will affect how city business is done?
Well, for sure, there's going to be a bit of confusion in terms of this ranked choice and having to fill in 6 bubbles and only picking 3 people per district and how that works and having people change their way of doing things. But I think this is an opportunity to have more women, people of color, low-income folks, people who will fight for people who have historically been underrepresented in government.
Is it going to be confusing for voters, though? As we mentioned earlier in this program, 98 people running for the 12 seats on Portland City Council. Your district, District 1, has the fewest number at 16.
16.
But if you look at that, that's still a pretty big number for people to choose from. How do voters wade through all of that?
I think voters, they're going to look at who do they know? Who has name recognition? What have they done? Were they effective when they ran? And you remember, we had 22 people on the ballot when I ran in 2020 against Dan Ryan, and we both came out of the primary. There were a lot of good folks who do good work in nonprofit sectors and the private sector, but at the end of the day, we pay attention to this because we're like inside baseball. But people, they recognize and remember people who they know, who has been helpful to them in their communities. And that's probably what they're going to be looking for. And I have to tell you, I've talked to some of my elderly aunts, and they're like, I can't weed through all these people. You know, I'm going to just pick people that I know. And so there are some, you know, more well-known folks than others that are on the ballot. And I think that everybody who's running, of the people that I've heard and seen in forums, they really feel strongly about being able to help people in their districts and to make sense of what government is going to look like going forward.
You're a former Multnomah County Commissioner.
Yes.
I want to tap into some of that experience right now. The deflection center issue that we're having, to me, it's an indication of how Multnomah County, the commission as a whole, has had difficulty in addressing the issues that especially the city of Portland faces. So how do you view that?
First of all, we have to comply with the law. We have to have a deflection center. We need to find one that's appropriate, and we need to find it like yesterday and get it open. But I think the complexity of what we're working with in the city of Portland right now, we've had many major businesses that are moving out of the city of Portland. We still have issues around safety, unsanctioned camping, people who need those services like the Deflection Center offers. Is so important. And it's important to making sure that we not just survive here in Portland, that we are thriving. I have not given up on Portland, and I believe we can get it together. We need to build our relationships in a much more meaningful way with the city and the county. We need to all be working collaboratively. We need to understand that we have to make sure that our downtown is thriving so that we can make sure that everyone is thriving. People look to come to downtown when they're tourists. This is where our economic center is. And so I think we could actually be a little creative and, reuse, repurpose some of these public buildings, like the old Multnomah County building. We moved into the health department by the train station, and that building is not being used heavily. And that building also is a public building that we don't get taxes off of. What if we thought about doing a public-private partnership where we turn that building into affordable mixed-use housing, and now we can begin to get taxes off of that building. Now we can begin to put those unhoused folks who are on our city streets downtown into housing, because we must house them first, and we must figure out some long-term solutions. I think that there are some misconceptions about homeless people. Everyone thinks that they all have a mental health or drug problem. That's not so. Chicago University, they did a study in 2021 and found that 50% of the people who are actually living in our shelters, they were employed. It's just an affordability issue. It's a salary issue. And 43% of those people who are on our streets, houseless, they had jobs. So while we're identifying opportunities to do rehabilitation, we need to also be figuring out workforce issues. We have so many infrastructure projects there in the state of Oregon that we have to produce workers for. We need to put some of those dollars into workforce training, train those folks in underrepresented communities that has historically not been in those positions. We're going to have a labor shortage here. So we have so many things to think about, so many things on our table, that this is such a huge responsibility. So goes Portland, so goes the rest of the state. And we got to build our reputation back up. And I think given the right circumstances, putting the right city councilors on city council to making sure that we do that, that's going to be ball game for us.
Loretta Smith, thank you very much for being here on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
We'll be right back.